Hi fam, welcome back to my channel. So today we want to bake homemade bread. Just calm down. There are so many things to this bread which I want to show you in this video, but trust me, it turned out very delicious. So just stay tuned and watch everything I have to explain. So to my returning subscribers, thank you for always watching my videos. I love you. If this is your first time here, please do click on the subscribe button. You're welcome to join the family. So for this recipe, we'll be needing 1 egg, some butter, some yeast, some sugar, flour, which is the main ingredient. That's 2 cups of flour, and some warm milk. That's 2 cups of milk there. The sugar is 1 cup, the yeast is 2 teaspoons, the butter is 3 tablespoons, and then 1 egg. So to begin, you pour in your sugar into the milk, the warm liquid milk, just like this, and then you go in and pour in your yeast as well. So I'm very sure that this yeast was still good. That's why I didn't have a need to test the yeast. So if you are not sure if your yeast is still good and will still rise, the way to test it is you pour it into a water containing sugar and then cover it and keep for a while, for like 10 minutes. When you go back to open in 10 minutes, it should have risen up. It shows you your yeast is still good. But if not, it wouldn't rise. So but for this, I was sure that the yeast was good, so I didn't have a need to test it. So to begin baking your bread, you get your flour. One tip is to mix dry ingredients first. So you just want to add your pinch of salt and then go in to add your beaten eggs. So the egg, I have to divide the egg into 2 because I'll be using half of it to coat the bread later. You see what I mean. So I pour in half, mix it with the flour, and then go in with my yeast mixture. That's the yeast, the warm milk, and the sugar. I just want to pour them in like that. Don't forget our measurements. We used 2 cups of warm milk, 2 tablespoons of yeast, and then 1 cup of sugar. You saw the measuring cup there. Now this was where things began to go wrong. Okay, of course I've always made bread and they always came out very nice, but I saw this recipe and I said to try it, and then wow, I was gobsmacked because the batter is just too watery, and this is not what a bread dough is supposed to look like. Guys, this bread stressed me, so I had to get some more flour. At this point, I'd already lost all sense of measurements. I just wanted my dough to come out nice. And I know a lot of people face this kind of issues when they are baking. That's why I said to make this video to show you the things that can possibly go wrong and how you can correct them. Now, where this would have been avoided was if I didn't use that quantity of warm milk. That milk was just like water. When mixing dough for bread, you just need to be careful about the water quantity. You are supposed to add it little by little because a bread dough is not supposed to be too thick and is not supposed to be too watery. You see at the end what a bread dough is supposed to look like, but then that milk was too much. Okay, that's why when I do my bread, I always love using powdered milk. So I'm going to film another video showing you how I do my own personal bread recipe and how it usually turns out. But this was a recipe I saw and I said to try, and it really stressed me. But then of course I rectified it at the end, and I'm just going to show you how. So this, even after adding some flour, it kept being sticky on my hands. I couldn't even just knead the dough very well, so I kept adding flour and flour and flour. At this point, I had missed all sense of measurement. I just kept adding flour. I wanted to get the correct dough for bread. A bread dough is not supposed to be sticky like this, as though you want to do puff puff. So I knew I had missed it at this point. Okay, so I kept adding flour little by little till I was able to get that bread dough consistency. So guys, I kept mixing it. I kept doing it. Guys, I was stressed out. I kept mixing these and mixing these. At the point, do I say, and yes, for your flour, when you go to the supermarket, there are different kinds of flour. You just want to pay attention to the kind of flour you'll be using for this recipe. There are flours that specifically meant for bread. Those kind of flour already contain some bits of rising agent, so you might want to be careful about the quantity of yeast you'll be putting. And I suspected this flour actually was a bread flour, had some bits of rising agent, so that yeast was a bit much. So the next recipe I'm going to use a plain flour that didn't contain everything and show you the right measurement of yeast. So I kept doing this. You can see it's coming together at this point, but I still feel it's a bit sticky on my hands. So I added some bit more flour and then transferred it to my kneading table. And then this is when you incorporate the butter into it and you begin to mix that and then give and knead it. Now this is where the work is in bread making. Mixing the dough in that bowl was not supposed to be so much work if I had my right measurement of liquid. This was where the work was supposed to be, kneading this dough. You can spend up to 30 minutes to 1 hour kneading your dough if you really want a soft, fluffy bread inside when you are done, okay? But then I kneaded this for like 20 minutes. I kept kneading, and yes, this is where you add the butter. When you add the butter at this point, it helps incorporate into your dough very well and helps the kneading go smoothly, because the oily feel of the butter on your hands and the flour kind of helps the kneading go like very smoothly. So you need to do this on a work table to enable you knead it as much as you can, okay? So this was me kneading the bread. You just want to keep kneading that, knead. If you have a kneading machine, that will be fine, but I don't have one at this point, so I just had to use my hands to knead. Of course, I kneaded the dough. So yeah, I did it for 20 minutes, I think. So here was I kneading it. Just want to knead until it has this stretchy feel but not sticky. So I tried as much as I can to limit how much I edited this video, so you see everything that happened in between, the loopholes, the lapses, and the rectification. I know lots of people have issues making bread, and maybe this is just the saving grace you need for when next you want to make bread, okay? This is what a bread dough is supposed to look like, and it's not supposed to be sticky. And where you get that soft is when you are using water. If you're using liquid milk, just a very little. But my issue with liquid milk is that if you use little, the taste of the milk does not really come out in the bread. So that's why I prefer using powdered milk, because I'll use as much as I want and then just mind the quantity of water I use in mixing the dough. So you can see it was still sticky in my hands, and I really didn't want that, so I still went for some more flour, added that, and then the stickiness was not allowing me knead the dough as much as I wanted. So I just needed to add some little more flour to enable me knead the dough without it sticking to my hands, and I think this was just the consistency I needed. So yeah, we're good to go. I was done kneading at this point. Just want to roll that very well to give it a smooth surface, and then transfer back into the bowl. Cover that with a film nylon. Cover again with a towel just to keep it warm and keep it in a warm place. I kept that inside my oven. There was no fire on the oven, but then it was warm, so it will rise. So you have to keep that for 30 minutes to 1 hour, and then go ahead to grease your pans just as I did. So this was after 30 minutes. It has risen to like ×2 of the size of the dough. You just want to bring that out and transfer to your kneading table, and then punch that and begin to knead again. So you do this kneading again for like 10 to 15 minutes. You really want to knead that very well. The kneading is where the bread is, don't forget. So I went ahead to keep kneading. Yup. And then we're done. Want to begin cutting the bread and preparing them for the bread pans. So it depends on whatever shape or sizes you want, but for this particular shape and size was just what I wanted to do. You saw the two pans I needed. One was a bread pan and one was just a baking tray. So after cutting that, you want to roll it into the shape you want for your pan, and this was how I rolled mine and then put it into my pan just like this. I wanted a bread that had like 4 layers that can easily be cut. If you want a one straight up bread, you can as well just roll it that way and put it straight. So this was what I had, and then now you see how we needed to use that egg we kept in the beginning. So you just want to rub this on the top of the bread. That's what gives some bread that shiny glittery look you used to see, you know, even when baking meat pies and all. If you coat it up with egg, you're going to see how it comes out when it's baked. It has the shiny look. Okay, so this was the remaining dough. I just rolled them and put them in the baking pan and coated it with egg as well. So I've been preheating this oven for the past 30 minutes at 180 degrees centigrade. So it was hot at this point, and then I put the bread inside. This was one of the mistakes I made. This pan was too high in the oven. It was too close to the heat, so it was already getting burnt even before the one down was fully baked. So remember, you're supposed to bake this for 45 minutes at 180 degrees centigrade. So now after baking, this was what we had. Our bread was ready. Remember, I brought out the one on the baking tray first because it was top on the oven. I needed the one down to cook, and then I left that one down for 10 more minutes, and then it came out like this. So the bread actually turned out very delicious, and you can see it was soft and fluffy. You know, it had this cake-like taste, but then it's not looking as smooth and fine as some of the bread recipes you see. But then now you know why and how we rectified such. So thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, comments, and subscribe to the channel if you're yet to do so. See you when next we see. Bye.